You ask the model for an invoice total and a due date, and it answers in a nice sentence. So you write a little parser, grab the dollar amount, grab the date, it works, you ship it. Then one day the model phrases it slightly differently and your parser returns nothing. You're scraping prose with regular expressions and prose changes. That's the fragile seam this whole half of the domain is about closing. Welcome back to the CCA exam prep course, episode 9, the second half of domain 4, structured output. Same honesty note, the public exam guide details domain 1 only. So this is mapped from Anthropic's tool use and structured output docs, kept to what they actually say. The whole idea in one line: stop parsing what the model says and start making it fill in a contract you defined, a shape you can read directly every time. The canonical mechanism is tool use, the same feature that lets Claude call functions. You define a tool, and the important part is its input schema, a JSON schema describing the exact fields you want back. When you send that, Claude doesn't reply in prose. It returns a tool use block, and that block's input field is a structured object that already matches your schema. You read it straight into your code, no regex, no guessing where the number is. The schema you ask for is the shape you get. That's the mental flip. The prompt used to be a request you hope the model answered well. Now the schema is a contract both sides agree on. You specify the fields, Claude fills them. For the exam, when a scenario says extract data or return structured output, tool use with an input schema is the default right answer. But a tool is optional by default. Claude decides whether to call it. For reliable extraction, you don't want maybe. You force it with the tool choice parameter. Set tool choice to type tool with your tool's name, and Claude must call that exact tool every time, so you always get the structured shape, never a chatty paragraph. There is also any, which means it must use some tool, and auto, the default, where it decides to guarantee one specific structured output, name the tool. Two things people reach for that you should skip: prefilling the reply with an open brace to trick it into JSON. That's a deprecated pattern on current models. Don't teach it to your code base. And Claude has no OpenAI style JSON mode switch. The documented path is the schema attached through tool use. The schema isn't paperwork, it's where you do the real work, because every constraint you add shrinks the space for the model to get it wrong. Give every field a type. List the must-have fields in the required array, so a missing one is an error, not a silent gap. Use an enum, a fixed set of allowed values for anything categorical like a status that can only be open, paid, or overdue, and write a clear description on each field. The docs are emphatic about this. The description is how Claude knows what actually goes there. A tight schema is the cheapest reliability you'll ever buy. Now, two newer features worth knowing. They go beyond what the original exam blueprint assumed, so I'll flag them as current docs rather than exam guaranteed. First, strict mode. Add stick true to the tool definition, and the model is constrained as it generates, so the output always matches your schema exactly. No missing fields, no wrong types. Second, structured outputs, a dedicated feature separate from tools. You hand it a schema and the final response itself is guaranteed to be valid, conformant JSON. Both push schema checking earlier. They prevent the bad output instead of catching it after. Tool use plus a schema is the foundation the exam tests. These are how you harden it in production. Here's the part people skip and the exam likes it. Even with the perfect schema, validate what comes back. Schema validate is not the same as correct. The shape can be right while the content is wrong, an amount of 0, a due date in the past, an empty vendor string that technically satisfied type string. Your schema guarantees the structure, your own validation guarantees the meaning. Check the values against your actual business rules before you trust them. Treat the model's output as input to your system and you validate input. When validation fails, you don't crash and you don't silently accept garbage. You close the loop. You hand the error back to Claude and let it correct the documented way. Return a tool result marked as an error with a specific instructive message, not just invalid, but amount must be greater than 0. Given that, Claude will typically fix it within a couple of tries. 2 rules make this safe. Write error messages that say exactly what to fix and cap the attempts 2 or 3, then fall back to a human or a safe default. An unbounded retry loop is just a slow, expensive way to hang. Let's apply it. Scenario 6. A system extracts fields from messy invoices into a database. Vendor, amount, due date, line items. The model sometimes replies in prose, sometimes returns JSON with a missing field, sometimes the wrong type. What's the most reliable design? Option A. Add return JSON only to the prompt, then parse the reply, and if parsing throws, resend the whole prompt. Option B. Prefill the assistant's reply with an open brace to force it into JSON. Option C. Define an extraction tool with a typed input schema. Required fields, enums, descriptions, force it with tool choice, read the tool use input, validate it, and on a bad value, return an error tool result so the model corrects. Option D. Raise max tokens and lower the temperature and hope the JSON comes out cleaner. Walk it. A return JSON only still leaks prose, and parsing it by hand is the fragile seam we opened on. Resending blindly doesn't tell the model what was wrong. Gone. B. Prefilling the brace is the deprecated trick, not the documented path on current models. Gone. D. Temperature and token limits don't give you a contract. You're still hoping. Hope isn't a design. Gone. C. A typed schema forced through tool use, read directly, validated, with a specific error fed back on failure. That's every technique in this episode in order. That's the answer. Lock in 4 things. Don't parse the model's prose. Define a contract. A JSON schema attached through tool use. Claude returns a tool use block whose input already matches your shape. Make it reliable. Force the tool with tool choice so you never get prose, and design the schema types, a required list, enums, and a description on every field. Skip the deprecated tricks. There's no JSON mode switch. Schema-valid isn't correct. Validate the values against your business rules, because the right shape can still hold wrong data. And close the loop. On a failure, return an error tool result that says exactly what to fix. Let Claude retry, but cap it at 2 or 3 attempts and then fall back. In production, strict mode and structured outputs harden this further by preventing bad output at generation time. That finishes domain 4. Next episode is domain 5, context management and reliability, the 15% that quietly decides who passes. Subscribe, and I'll see you in episode 10.